This podcast is for anyone who has ever felt stuck, whether it's a major life transition, a dark night of the soul, or just staying small out of fear. If you've ever struggled to move forward, if you're repeating unhealthy patterns in relationships, or you have a black belt in beating yourself up, you were meant for more, and this podcast is for you. We'll get real, we'll get vulnerable, we'll probably cuss a little bit, and we'll get to the root of it all, your self-worth. With every step, you'll find the courage to rise. Welcome to another episode of the Courage to Rise podcast. Today, I want to talk to you about a deep truth that sometimes we overlook. And really, the simplest truths, something about the human experience wants to complicate things. Some of it is just inherent in who we are as humans, but sometimes we'll hear a concept and we're like, well, that's too simple. Or we don't really allow ourselves to sit with the concept and see the resonant truth of it and how it has threads into every aspect of our life and truly understand the depth of the wisdom and the truth behind it. So if you've spent time in my world, you've probably heard me say, your life is the sum of your daily choices. And your life is the sum of your daily choices, and your thoughts are one of those choices. And sometimes we hear these things and we're like, yeah, I get it, daily choices. But I really want to spend time in this episode breaking that down for you so that you really see the truth and the resonance of the fact that your life really is the sum of those choices. You can take a snapshot of your day, and you can take a snapshot of the actions that you take habitually, of the thoughts that you think about yourself and about others, of the things that you do on a daily basis. All of those daily choices will add up and compound over time. And sometimes we don't think about this in terms of the day-to-day process of things, because I think there's part of us that wants everything immediately. It's the microwave generation concept that we sometimes have gotten disconnected from the truth that, yes, you can quote unquote manifest, which really just means to create. You can create anything it is you desire, and there is a process. And the length of that process depends on a lot of factors that I'm not going to go into right now because that's not the point of this particular podcast. But the point is that having an intention for something and then taking the daily actions toward it is how you change anything. Because if you're going through life right now and you are doing your life from a habituated place, and that looks like you get up in the morning and you do the same routine and you have the same coffee and you have the same breakfast and you do the same workout and you go to work and you do the same things and you come home and you do the exact same things and you repeat that on a daily basis. And while you're doing those things, you're having the same thoughts about yourself. So remember, we think between 60 and 80,000 thoughts every single day, and 95% of those thoughts are unconscious thoughts, at least 95%, right? 90% conservatively. 90% of those thoughts are unconscious, meaning you're not consciously aware of the default mode network that's running in the background that's playing that tape of the crappy things you think about yourself and how you feel about yourself and the judgments you have on other people or the worries that you have or the anxieties that you have. You're not even aware of it because it's literally running in your unconscious. And so if we're not conscious of it, how in the world can we expect anything to be different? How can we expect to shift, right? So when I say that, what I'm bringing your attention and your awareness to is the fact that as you start to become more aware, and remember, it's all from a place of curiosity. Nothing that you've done in your life is wrong or bad. You are exactly perfect in all of your perfect imperfections. You are exactly where you're meant to be, listening to this at the exact perfect time to raise your awareness and your consciousness about this, to bring more awareness to it in your daily life. You're perfectly perfect as you are right now. So when we start to bring awareness to the thoughts that we're having about ourselves, let's say, for example, that you have a deep belief and feeling that maybe you've become conscious of, maybe you're not, that you're not enough, or that there's never enough, or that you have to work to be loved, or that if you're not quote unquote perfect, then you won't fill in the blank of whatever that fear is, right? Whole other podcast, perfect is bullshit. But there's some thought that's operating, that has operated every single day. And when we think that thought and we're not even aware that we're thinking it, you're doing it every single day. And if you're having the thought of, I'm not good enough, I'm not good enough, I'm not good enough, over and over and over again, and it's playing in the background, that is literally creating everything in your reality that's associated with that. And I don't want to get too far into that right now, but it's the same way if you're thinking that whatever that thought is that you're repeating, whether it's a worry thought or an anxious thought, you're repeating it and you're repeating it and you're repeating it. Whatever it is that we repeat, we're literally practicing it on a daily basis. So the thoughts that you're thinking every single day are quite literally creating your future, and they're creating how you're going to feel in the future because it's what you're practicing habitually, right? And by the same token, it's true of our physical as well, because think about it from this standpoint. If you have an intention to become healthier and stronger in your body, and you have never before in your life lifted a weight, you're not going to go into the gym right away and lift, 15-pound curls or do, a 250-pound press or squat a certain amount if you've never done it before. I mean, could you physically? Maybe. Are you going to hurt the ever-loving shit out of yourself? Yes. So let me just give voice to that. But my point is that in order for you to comfortably and safely, right, be consistently stronger, it's going to take daily practice of building up that muscle. Because if you start out and you've never lifted a weight before, and you go in and you start out with the 5-pound weights, right? And you just do the 5-pound weights and you do that for several weeks, all of a sudden you've built that foundation of strength. And now you can go up to the 8-pound weights, and then you do the 8-pound weights for a while. And then after that, you've built enough strength that you move up to the 10-pound weights, right? So this is the same concept that over the course of time, you're literally strengthening a muscle. Well, that is the physical analogy for absolutely anything that we are doing within ourselves. If you have a deep belief that you've become aware of, I'm not good enough, or I'm not lovable, or whatever that shitty little voice is that's operating unconsciously in your head, then what you want to do on a daily basis is not continue to feed that thought. What you want to do is you want to consciously start to look for evidence that you are a motherfucking badass, and that you get to decide that that's who you are, and the rest of you is going to catch up with that belief over time, right? Because just like you go to the gym with your intention is, I want to gain strength in my body. And if you have a certain intention of, I want to be able to, I don't know, let's say curl 15 pounds when you've never done a single curl in your life. And then you're going to want to practice on a regular basis so you build that strength. So it's the same exact thing with our thoughts. And whatever you're thinking about yourself on a daily basis is going to continue to be true. And so if you have a thought about yourself that you're not good enough and you're continuing to think that and reinforce that, and this is the sneaky part about it is I bet you're really not even aware of how much that shows up in your life. Or let's take the example of if you have a particular emotion that you feel on a regular basis, because emotions are the end product of our thoughts, right? Like it starts with a thought and a feeling, actions, experiences, and emotions. And so if you, for example, find yourself in judgment of others on a regular basis, then, and that's something that you would like to shift because ultimately you know that that's not good for you, it's not good for anybody else, and that's something that you want to shift, well, we want to start by bringing your awareness to where that is showing up on a daily basis for you. And just pick one thing at a time, right? We don't want to, I hate that I'm going to use this analogy, we don't want to boil the whole ocean, right? We just want to pick one thing so that you can start to see how this is true. So let's say it's the emotion of judgment. And you start to bring loving awareness to how many times throughout your day you are judging your partner, judging your friend, judging the person on social media. Social media is an excellent place to go feed your addiction to judgment because it's just like, it's all right there, right? And you're like, why is she wearing that? Why did she say that? Blah, 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 blah. Or you're judging your coworkers. You are unconsciously judging everybody that you look at. All these things that are an externalization of the thought that you're having inside yourself, which, spoiler alert, actually means that you're judging the ever-loving shit about yourself, out of yourself, because whatever it is that we're doing to others is actually only a reflection of what we do to ourselves. Because if you were in deep love and acceptance of yourself, you would automatically be in deep love and acceptance of other people. You wouldn't feel the need to judge. It wouldn't even be in your consciousness, because what we're doing externally is actually what we're doing to ourselves. So I'm going to drop that bomb on you and let that one filter into your consciousness for a while. And we'll come back to more on that concept later on in future episodes. But what I want you to really feel into today is that whatever it is you're doing on a daily basis, the thoughts you're thinking, the actions that you're taking, the decisions that you're making, those choices you make on a daily basis are adding up to the sum of your life. You can predict your future by looking at the thoughts you're thinking today, the actions that you're thinking today, the choices and decisions that you're making today. All of those things are going to lead to a future you that is going to be the sum of your past actions. If I want to strengthen my body, like we said, we're going to use that analogy. If I want to strengthen my body, then if I take that action every day and I'm lifting weights on a training plan, I'm stretching my body, I'm feeding my body, a year from now, when I've followed that plan and taken those actions on a daily basis, I am going to be stronger. It can't be any other way because I have consistently taken the actions on a daily basis. And the same is true for anything that we're looking to shift in our life. Flash forward a year from now and think about what your life is going to look like a year from now if you continue to do exactly what you're doing today. If you continue to avoid taking care of your body, if you continue to feed your brain with social media and news that's designed to whip you up into a frenzy and all the bad things that are in the world, and if you continue to feed yourself with doom and despair and thoughts of, how you're not good enough, if you continue to feed yourself and practice what you're practicing today, what is your life going to be like a year from now? And that's a question to ask yourself. And you can even take it to your journal if you really want to do some reflection on it. What are the thoughts I'm thinking today? What are the actions I'm taking today? And if I continue to think those thoughts, feel those feelings, take those actions, what is my life going to look like a year from now? Right? Because remember, our brains sometimes do a weird thing with time. And we have kind of an unrealistic expectation of how long things should take. We either think it should be way faster or we think it's going to take way longer than it actually is. But this is the part where we want to just lovingly release all of that. Like release how long it takes, just poof, send that up into the ether. Your only job is to have the vision of what it is you want, either how you want to feel, something you want to experience, a way you want to feel, or again, I'm sticking with the analogy of your body. If you want your body to be a certain way or to be a certain level of health, just hold that vision. And then every single day you're taking the actions toward it, right? One of my goals is to be fluent in Spanish, because years ago I used to be fluent in French, and now it all comes up jamming up in my head and I go to speak and it turns out to this weird French thing, but that's not really the point of this conversation. If I want to be fluent in Spanish, then I have to be practicing every single day, right? I'm on my Duolingo and I'm speaking back to the app and I'm practicing. And eventually over time in doing that and increasing my knowledge and strengthening that mental muscle, I'm going to be able to speak it fluently, right? It's the same thing, but I can't go immediately from having a bunch of ancient neural networks around French to all of a sudden activating immediate mastery of Spanish. Do I think fundamentally it's possible in the quantum? Yes. Do I think that humans in general are advanced enough to make that happen yet? No, I don't. But that's, again, a whole other topic. You like how every single podcast I record contains 20 other podcast topics? Anyway, just a little teaser for the future. But my point is, when you look at
your life. Just take a day, take a snapshot of your life, and just objectively with curiosity look at what are the decisions that I'm making? What are the thoughts that I'm thinking? What are the choices that I'm making? Are these the things that I really want to be creating my future? Because if there's a giant jar in my living room, and I don't know why there would be, but let's go with it. There's a giant jar in my living room, and every day I drop by and I just drop one tiny marble into it, and I just do that every single day. Within a year or more, I'm going to have a jar full of marbles without even really thinking about it, right? Because it's just the compound effect of what I'm doing with this one tiny action over time. Now, we're going to leave to the side what the fuck I would do with a giant jar of marbles, but hopefully you understand my point and my analogy in this is that it's the compound effect of your daily choices. And it's also not looking for the outcome, because this is a trap we fall into all the time. If we start to shift something in our life, it's like we want to see the immediate payoff, right? Like you went to the gym for a week and you're looking at your body going, why hasn't my body changed yet? Like it's this impatience that we have for things to happen immediately. And it's true for anything that you're doing. And that's the part, if you can just disconnect that and just when it comes up, just release it. Takes the time it takes. My only job is to continue to take the actions, continue to work on my thoughts, continue to shift my energy. And over time, and probably out of the blue, all of a sudden, you're going to look in the mirror or somebody's going to say something to you and be like, wow, you've gotten really strong, or you'll see it in yourself. But your job is just to take the actions on a daily basis. And it's how we shift anything. And it's also how in recovery programs, they teach people like make the next right choice and take it one day at a time. But I actually think if you break it down even more granular, where you take it one decision at a time, one decision point at a time, what do I want to do in this next moment, right? Do I want to go sit on the couch, or do I want to say, no, I want to get up and just go for a walk for 30 minutes or go for a walk for 15 minutes? Or I just want to get up and do a couple yoga postures and stretch my body, and then I'll sit back down, right? Remember that one is better than none, and more than that is better than one, but one is better than none. So the point is to ask yourself in each moment, is this next action I'm going to take, or if I catch my thoughts going down like a shitty rabbit hole where I'm feeling bad about myself, just stop it. And then what's the next thought? What's the next choice? What's the next decision I can make that if I made it over time would ultimately lead me to the type of life that I want to be living? And when I say the life I want to be living, really what I mean is the life inside of you is your internal world, because your internal world is absolutely everything and your external world can't help but reflect it. But again, that's a whole other podcast. So your life is the sum of your daily choices. Your life is the sum of your daily thoughts. And so with that information, the more you become aware, because if we're not aware of something, we can't change it. The more you become aware of what those daily thoughts are, the more you become aware of what those daily choices are, the more you can actually start to shift them. And you can practice on a daily basis what it is you want to be and who it is you want to be. And I give this to my clients, like you can use self-hypnosis to do this too, because, I'm going to start down a whole rabbit hole with this. But in order to change the unconscious part of our brain, we actually have to get into our unconscious mind, right? And so that involves calming our body, lowering our brain waves, which means like basically bringing ourselves out of stress, right? So that when you say those things that you want to be or the beliefs that you want to create within yourself and you want to change a belief that you have about yourself, that it actually goes in, right? Because this is also why just affirmations don't work, or they don't work in the way that sometimes people think, because I can sit there and go, I'm wealthy, I'm wealthy, I'm wealthy, I'm wealthy, I'm wealthy, I'm wealthy, I'm wealthy until the cows come home. But if in my unconscious mind and body, I'm feeling like I'm poor and I'm in scarcity, like that's a mismatch, right? So, and if you've found that affirmations work for you, great, keep doing them, because you've probably got the other things that are aligned that allow them to work and allow them to shift your consciousness. But if you have done affirmations and you've found like, I don't know, I've said, I'm enough until the cows come home, but I still don't feel enough, then there's probably a deeper element to it of getting into that unconscious mind and reprogramming that belief. So anyway, I'm getting a little bit off topic here, but your first step is understanding and bringing awareness to the fact that that exists. So your assignment, if you choose to accept it, is to take a look at your daily life. Take a snapshot. If you want to take a snapshot of like a weekday and then a weekend day, right? Of like your 9 to 5 or whatever you do during the week and like what that looks like. And then maybe on your weekends, and just get curious. And maybe as you go through a day, just kind of stand to the side as if you were just an observer taking notes about, when I wake up in the morning, I find that my thoughts automatically go to worry or fretting or something. And then I, make my coffee and I am, doing my morning ritual, but then I find that like this comes up, or I have a really great morning, but then I go into my day and like this comes up, or I'm thinking this thought, or I'm doing this thing. Like pattern track with yourself, because then you can start to see just objectively what's going on. And you don't have to do anything about it right now. You're just bringing awareness to, oh, this is a thing that happens, right? These are thoughts that I'm thinking that I didn't realize I was thinking. And your thoughts are the key to literally absolutely everything. So doesn't it make sense that we would start to become aware of them? Because again, if you're not aware of it, you can't do anything about it. So become aware of what it is you're doing on a daily basis. And then you can start to ask yourself, if I continue to do this, like every single day, if I continue to carry all of this stress forward, or these thoughts forward, or this forward, or that forward, and if I continue to do this every single day, what would my life look like within a year? And just see what comes up and see what you notice. And then you can start to ask yourself the question, okay, well, if I wanted one area of my life to be different, just pick one, because we don't want to overwhelm ourselves, right? And I want you to find evidence that this is true, because our brains love finding evidence. And if I just wanted to shift this one area, and if on a daily basis I started to change this, and this. And when I say change, all I mean is like you catch it when it comes up. If it's like a thought that you're having, like a crappy thought you're having, you notice, ooh, there's that sneaky thought again. I don't want to think that thought anymore. So when that comes up, I'm going to do X, Y, and Z. And if it's something that requires an action, right, of I'm going to move my body for, if you have no movement at all or no exercise at all, maybe it's that you're going to move your body for 15 minutes a day, right? Or 10 minutes a day. And that can look like a lot of different things, but maybe you decide, okay, here's the possible list of things that I can do. I can go for a walk. I can do some sit-ups. I can do some yoga. I can lift weights for, 10 or 15 minutes, or I can do jumping jacks, or whatever feels good for your body that you are challenging yourself to do. Just 10 minutes of movement, any kind of movement that feels good a day, and then just see over the course of time what happens, because these things build and stack on themselves as well. But I'm giving you this as an assignment or as a challenge because I really want you to start to see how this is actually true for you. And just remember, just pick one thing. We're not trying to do all the things right now. I just want you to play with it and have fun with it and see how this could actually be true in your life, and choose what's something that I might want to shift that I can start to practice on a daily basis. And just remember, if my life is the sum of my daily choices, and my life is the sum of the thoughts that I'm thinking about myself, first and foremost, then wouldn't it make sense? Wouldn't it be logical that on a daily basis, I would want to start to shift what it is I'm practicing? Because I have practiced for a really long time beating myself up or feeling crappy about myself or feeling self-conscious or whatever it is. So let me get curious about what it would look like if I started to reform that, and if I started to shift that. And we can get into like other ways that we do it, but I want you to start here, because this is where everything starts and ends with our thoughts. It doesn't matter what it is. It all goes through the human brain. It all starts and ends with your thoughts. So that's my challenge to you. That's my invitation to you. And carrying that idea forward, that whatever it is you're thinking and feeling on a daily basis is creating your future. So within that, what is it that you would like to play with, have fun with, shifting in your life? Sparkle on, my loves.
I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Courage to Rise podcast. Visit my website, couragetorise.com, for more information on one-on-one coaching, group coaching programs, and other upcoming events. Remember, life's too short not to sparkle. Sparkle on.